daily Snapchat science. Now in today's episode, what we're looking at is biogas and biogas generators. So hopefully by the end of this video, you're able to 1, describe the composition of biogas and how it is produced. You're then able to go on to state the various uses of biogas. And then hopefully after that, you're able to evaluate the advantages and disadvantages of using biogas. So let's get right into it. Now, when we're talking about biogas, we're talking about a fuel. We want an alternative method to using fossil fuels, so we've come up with another way now. We've looked at bioethanol, now we want to look at a biogas. Now, biogas is produced from anaerobic fermentation. Now, it's the anaerobic fermentation of waste plant material, okay, food peelings, even manure from animals such as cows, but sometimes, in some cases, even humans. And when this material is broken down by anaerobic fermentation, all right, we're able to produce methane and carbon dioxide. Okay, so biogas contains methane and various different amounts of carbon dioxide depending on where it's made. Right, and it's this methane that provides the fuel. So instead of using our fossil fuels, we're now using this methane. Okay, so it's an amazing thought that somebody's thought of, because we're now able to reduce the amount of fossil fuels that we're burning. Okay, now many different types of microorganisms are used in breaking down and creating this biogas. Okay, so let's look at how it's created. Now, biogas is burned to produce electricity. On a small scale, it could be used for homes or small farms to heat water, okay, or simply for the electricity in the home. Now, it is much better to burn the actual biogas, okay, than to burn the fuel such as the waste food material. And the reason why is there is much more energy in the biogas, in that methane. Okay, so we can get a lot more electricity and we can get a lot more hot water from that biogas. Okay. Now, a really good thing about biogas is, let's say for example, the manure that we use to create the biogas. Okay. After we've used it to create the biogas, sludge is remaining. Okay, and this creates, that key word there that's in red, an effluent. Now this effluent can then be spread onto land to be used as fertilizer. So we have an amazing thought now for developing countries. They can, 1, use the biogas, okay, to heat their homes, cook on, use for electricity, okay. But not only that, they can use the effluent, the sludge that's remaining once the biogas has been made, to fertilize their crops. Okay, so it's really amazing, okay? And a lot of countries use biogas generators. Now, types of biogas are mainly found in the developing country, okay? And this is an example of a small-scale biogas generator. Now, if we look here about how it can use, okay, so we use, for example, in this case, we're using the manure. The manure goes into the biogas generator, and this biogas generator allows the anaerobic fermentation of the manure, so that methane is produced. This methane is burnt, okay, for cooking, heating homes, etc. The carbon dioxide that's released during this process, okay, goes into the atmosphere, but then it's also taken back in by the plant. So we're using this and we're not burning excessive amounts and adding excess amounts of carbon into the atmosphere. So our carbon emissions, okay, are low. Our carbon footprint is low. All right. Now, what conditions are needed for biogas to produce? 1, we said anaerobic conditions need to happen. Therefore, oxygen must be excluded. We must use no oxygen. We also need warm conditions. Optimum conditions are 32 degrees plus. Okay. Don't forget, okay, microorganisms use enzymes, so we must keep it warm. The conditions warm. Too cold of a condition, okay, the collisions won't happen, or the enzymes won't be moving fast enough to collide. The temperature being too high, the enzymes denature, as I'm sure you know. We must keep conditions moist, and in a small biogas generator, we have to keep adding the organic matter, which means we have to keep adding the waste plant material, the manure, the food peelings, etc. Okay, so it takes a lot of effort. Now, let's look at some disadvantages of using a small-scale biogas generator. Now, these biogas generators, they have to be stocked and monitored every single day. Okay, so it takes a lot of manpower and a lot of effort to monitor and maintain these biogas generators. Secondly, as you can see here, this biogas generator, although it's not taking up massive amount of land, it is still taking up land. So this land could have been used for to plant crops, okay? And therefore that is a negative, okay? Because the biogas generator takes up space, but also the pipes take up space. And also, as I'm sure you can imagine, setting up this biogas generator, the initial startup costs are high. Okay, so you would need funds to be able to set up this initial startup cost. So in case you was getting any last minute ideas about maybe I'll set this up in my garden, okay, it does cost a bit of money to set up. Okay, now biogas can be made on a larger scale. As we said in our previous videos, methane is a waste product produced when we put lots of our rubbish into landfill sites. Now, what happens on a large scale is we actually have pipes underground. They collect this excess methane, okay, and the methane can be used, okay, on a much larger scale to be used for much, let's say a small collection of homes, okay, in businesses, etc. All right, and this is biogas generation on a larger scale. All right, so we have two different scenarios. We can use it on a small scale, for example, for homes or small farms, okay, or on a much larger scale. All right. Now, commercial generation of biogas, so on a large scale, requires a few things. Firstly, it's a positive because it's a continuous process, all right, and therefore the pipes are sunk into the ground, okay, and the reason why they're sunk into the ground is to keep the temperature at an optimum condition. Secondly, all right, we need to collect the biogas from the top of that digester, all right, and that's something that happens during biogas generation. So guys, it's really important that as part of your notes, okay, you get down how the biogas generator works. So in this example, we can see that the organic material is put into the digester, okay. This digester, okay, produces the biogas, all right, which is methane, but also we can use it for fermentation, all right. Now, why is biogas a positive, all right, and why can we use biogas? Firstly, it has lower emissions. Secondly, the air that it produces is cleaner and it has fewer harmful particulates. And lastly, it's a renewable energy resource. But is biogas actually the answer? Is biogas what we should actually be using? Now, one issue with biogas is if we continue to use biogas on a large scale, okay, it will start to undermine the positive effects of biogas. All right? So, hopefully by the end of this video, you're able to describe the composition of biogas and how it is produced. Secondly, you're able to state the various uses of biogas. And then hopefully you're able to evaluate the advantages and disadvantages of using biogas. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe and revise. Mr. Ashodi signing out.